I've explained it and explained it to you.
Okay. All right.
I don't understand why you don't understand it. You don't get it. You didn't look at anything yourself, so, and they're
Okay.
gonna lie.
All right, Mr. Dorn. Sorry about that. And Miss Wilson. We're back on the record with ARS Construction Company versus Wanda Wilson. Time set for trial in this matter. Any preliminary matters, Mr. Dorr?
Judge, I don't know how to do exhibits with Zoom, but we emailed to the court 16 pages and I numbered them at the bottom.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have them or not, but
I even looked for them. You said, I'm sorry, they were emailed over. Oh, Janice nodding her head that they must have been sent over here. Was it? It's in here.
okay.
Okay. So I've got those actually right in front of me.
Okay. And the other thing was, when we were in court, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, Wanda Wilson indicated that she provided you this estimate of Cardinal Roofing. So I just want to make sure you have that.
Miss Wilson, is that right? Did you turn something
Yes.
to me with? I'm sorry, it's Cargo? Oh,
Cardinal.
Yep, I'm sorry, I do see it. Cardinal Roofing, I do have Cardinal Roofing repair estimate. Do you have a copy of that too, Mr. Dorr?
Yeah, she gave us a copy of it. And,
Okay.
And so I don't, normally what we do is we offer them into evidence and go through the process of doing the laying the foundation. So I don't know what you want to do. We're ready to stipulate that both of them go in, but you tell me how you want to proceed.
Sure. Yeah, we can do it. What I normally do when we're on Zoom like this is we'll just do a screen share with them, but it might be easier if both sides agree for me just to stipulate to both sets of documents.
Okay.
Miss Wilson, can you agree to the other set of documents as well? It might be easier for everybody, quite frankly.
Pardon?
Can you agree to let me review Mr. Dorr's documents, have those admitted into evidence as well as yours, so we don't have to go through legal foundations to have those admitted?
Sure, he's already put an extra 120 days on it, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so for both your sakes, then I've got both sets of documents. And when they get referred to, though, I'll need you to slow down so I can grab them. I've got both sets here, but I'll set those on the side, okay?
Okay.
All right, and with that, anything else? Does that pretty much cover it?
I don't have any other preliminary issues, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Wilson, any other preliminary matters before we start?
Well, you sent Harry over here to check the roof and the attic, and he refused to even go in my attic and look at anything.
Okay, and I'll get you a chance to, to question that witness too. Okay, and if it goes towards his credibility or her credibility anyway, so I'll let you do that, okay? All right. All right, Mr. Dorr, you can proceed for me. If you want to give an opening statement, just a brief one, that's fine too.
I'm going to do it real briefly. This involves a roof job that the plaintiff did for Wanda Wilson at 301 North Genesee in Montrose. And the reason why plaintiff got involved was Wanda Wilson called my client and said that a roof was leaking and that her living room fell in. And so my client immediately went over there and tarped the roof on a Friday night at 6 o'clock at night.
No.
And then from there, he came back the next day and walked the roof and estimated the materials needed. And they negotiated what should be done and what she was willing to do. In other words, there was a disparity between what should have been done and what she was willing to agree to. But they eventually ended up doing the contract, which is page 1 of 16 that I've attached. And that contract said exactly what ARS agreed to do. and that the cost was $12,000. Because of the fact that the roof was leaking, my client moved her work ahead of other several jobs and started the job a week later. And this would be in the summertime of 2022. And after the work was started, I want to back up. The house itself consists of 3 sections. The middle section is an old section that was an old house that had old plank roofing and bad rafters. And then the 2 side sections on either side were newer part of the structure, and they had a newer part of the roof. And the problematic part of the roof was the one in the middle. And one of the things that they talked about was that the roof in the middle was the one that was compromised and needed to have more infrastructure type work done, which we're going to get to in the proofs. But Ms. Wilson wasn't willing to put that in the contract or agree to pay for it. So what they ended up doing was she just said, give me a roof that doesn't leak. And the proofs will show that it doesn't leak. And the proofs will show that after the work was done, the building inspector, there was a building permit pulled, and after the work was done, the building inspector issued a final approval, which is it's a picture of it because it was attached to the building. So page 5 of 16 is the approval of the roof that was issued by the building inspector. After that, despite the request for payment from Mrs. Wilson, she refused to pay, and so this action was started. So we're aware of the fact that she claims that the roof work was defective, and that is the reason why we brought Mr. Powell here to testify that he went out there pursuant to the court's order and examined it, and he's reviewed the Cardinal roofing estimate and all of the pictures, and he's prepared to explain to the court that the work that was done by ARS was done in a workmanlike manner, that the roof doesn't leak, and that he's going to point out what should have been done at the time, but it wasn't in the contract because she didn't want to pay for it. So the roof is still compromised, although it doesn't leak. Needs further attention, but she wasn't willing to pay ARS to do the additional work, and Cardinals doesn't have a problem with what was done. They're looking at what should have been done, but it wasn't agreed to. So we're ready to call our first witness. The court wants us to proceed.
Okay. And before we do that, I guess Ms. Wilson, there's a legal steps that you got to follow through with the trial too. You've got a right to give me an opening statement, just like Mr. Dorr, or you can wait till afterwards. Now, it's going to be a little unusual because I'm sure you're going to want to testify. You're not represented by an attorney. So I'm giving you a little bit of leeway, but I got to follow the court rules for everybody, okay? If you want to give me an opening statement of what you intend to prove on your side, you can do that this time, just like Mr. Dorr. It's not evidence. It's just giving me some guidelines as far as what I'm going to be looking for. So that's up to you if you want to do it now, or if you want to wait till Mr. Dorr is done and I can give you a chance to do that then. It's up to you.
Well, I'll do.
And you'll get a chance to testify either way. Okay.
Okay, I called them, and Stroop, Mr. Stroop came out, and it was to put a roof and shingles. I told him plainly there was rotten boards. I said, will you replace the boards? Yes, we will replace the boards. Okay, when I said, how about the 2 add-on portions? Well, they will feather those out so that they will be even and you won't see them anymore. No, he didn't write it in the contract, but he stood there plainly to my face and told me that they would do it. And they did not. They come over, they didn't put boards on the roof to cover the holes. They patched them. They run some, I don't know, aluminum looking stuff on patches. The attic, you can see holes. I even sent you pictures where there's light shining through one spot. There's nails all sticking through where they nailed the nails where there's nothing. There's just nails hanging through on there. And he never discussed anything with me about any extra work. In fact, he didn't even come around here. He sent two 16-year-old boys and another one that I don't know who he was, he just was released from prison. And then the other one was supposedly the foreman. And they come over, and then when he came over here, I told him what they were doing. He said, well, you know how it is training.
Is this an opening statement or is this her testimony?
Yeah, I know, and that's what we end up, ma'am, you can't be telling me all the facts of the case, just what you intend to prove. So if the,
Well, that's what I'm trying to do, sir.
okay, because you're gonna get a chance to tell me all that under oath. Right now, you're not under oath. So I don't want to hear the same things that you're gonna testify to, okay? And that's what makes it difficult when you're representing yourself like that. Okay? So anything else you intend to prove to me besides that the contract was not followed that you agreed to?
No, I guess not.
No? Okay. All right. We'll give you a chance to testify then too. Mr. Dorr, you can call your first witness.
You call Matt Stroop, this gentleman
Matt
seated
Stroop,
to my
officer.
left.
Sure. And so once you raise your right hand, I'll let everybody just sit. We're fine like that. Do you swear firm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And why don't you just state and spell your name for my court recorder, just as long as we're doing it.
Matthew Stroop, MATTHEWSTROUP.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dorr?
Thank you. Where are you employed, Mr. Stroop?
ARS Construction,
And how long have you been employed there?
26 years.
And in what capacity are you employed there?
What capacity?
What do you do?
Oh, owner.
You're one of the owners of
One
the
of the
business?
owners.
Okay. And are you familiar with the home at 301 North Genesee Street, Montrose, Michigan?
Yes, sir.
Could you please indicate how you first came into contact with this home?
She had called us up with her.
Now, she being who? Is who?
Wanda Wilson.
Okay.
Called us. She had very bad leaking problem. Her ceiling fell in. So we went up there right away. It was on a Friday night at 6 o'clock and put a tarp on it for her. Came out Monday after that to give her an estimate.
Okay. Did you charge her for the tarp?
Nope.
Okay.
I tried to put the tarp because she said she was gonna agree to go with us.
Okay. And did you return to the premises to give an estimate?
Yes. On
And
Monday.
did you talk to her as you were doing the estimate, what needed to be done?
Yes.
And what did you indicate to Mrs. Wilson?
That the middle of the roof was dipping and explained to her, if we get that dip out, we're gonna have to take all the feeding off, put new rafters in there and then resheet it off. She didn't wanna do any of that.
You didn't
Now,
say anything.
Could you please describe when you say the old and the new, tell the judge what the old part was and what the new part was so that he can understand it?
So the middle of the house was the original part of the house and then it was added on both ways. So the newer part has 1/2 inch OSB with regular, rough rafters and trusses, where the middle is the old rafter construction with planks.
Now, when you use the word plank, you mean that instead of a roof deck, it was these old saw cut planks?
3/4 inch, yeah.
Okay. And what condition were they in, if you can recall?
we didn't know what condition they were in until we started tearing it off, and they were not in that great a condition. So I made a special appointment, went over there and talked to Wanda Wilson right in her front yard and showed her that this needs to be redact, new half-inch OSB over it. But right on our contract, it states $80 a sheet, anything over 2. You know, that's what it states on the contract, and she did not want to pay anything. So I can't afford it, I cannot, she refused. So I said, the only other thing we can do is we can try to, you know, cut out the bad planking and put new 3/4 inch OSB in where the bad planking is. And she said, okay,
So you wanted to replace the rafters and the deck, and she didn't want to do that, is that right?
from the get-go, I told her that's the way you're gonna get the dip out.
Okay,
Liar.
but she didn't want to do that, is that right?
Right,
Okay, and then after you started, you found that the planks had bad spots, and you wanted to do something about that, and she didn't want to do that either.
yes,
So that left you with trying to put the roof in with what she allowed you to do.
correct.
And what was it that you ended up doing with the whole roof?
So we just replaced the bad planks and then did everything else, you know, roofed everything else and did everything that we were supposed to do on the contract.
Okay, now, did you do anything in addition to that?
Yeah, we tore down the back thing, but that was in the contract, but she said that she was gonna tear out the floor. After we got all done, we tried to get a hold of Mrs. Wilson for 2 weeks. She would never answer the phone, never, nothing. So I physically went over there and then she had us tear the floor out. I tried to, you know, we cleaned up, we tried to make her happy any way that we
Now,
could.
you're talking about a shack that was at the back of the building,
Correct. I had her,
and it was just something that you were doing that had nothing to do with the roof.
right,
So it was just the demolition of a shack that was in the back of the building.
right, tear down the slope.
And you agreed to take it apart, and she was gonna do the floor, but you ended up doing the floor yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
That was
Was
all.
there anything in addition to that that you did extra?
Yeah, we went around and cleaned again because she wanted us to, but also there was some soffit that we had to take down on the house when we put new fascia up, and somehow that come up missing, so I had to go buy a new soffit and put it up on the house, and that was extra too. And we also we had over 6 sheets of OSB. The part that she's talking about, that I told her that was included in the estimate, was the part that was rotted where the ceiling was falling in. It had nothing to do with the planks over here because we didn't even know that any of that was like that until we got it tore off. So we did replace all the wood over there, that where it was leaking and rotted.
Okay, so, to help us paint a better picture, the part above the old part of the house wasn't leaking? It was the part somewhere else that was leaking?
Yes,
Okay, and the part somewhere else was one of these additions that you talked about,
yeah,
correct? And you replaced the OSB over this addition where the ceiling had fallen in.
correct,
And that was part of your contract.
correct.
Okay. Did you do anything else that you need to tell the judge about?
I don't think so.
Okay. Now, after you did all that work, did you get the building inspector to come back and take a look at the job?
Yes,
And were you given a final approval by the building inspector?
yes,
Now, I'm showing you page 5 of 16 of the documents that we just mentioned to the judge. And could you tell me what page 5 of 16 is?
it's the approval that he filled out saying final roof approval.
Now, where was that located at? I mean, where's this? It looks like a picture of it. Where was it at?
He sent it to me off his phone.
Okay, he sent it to you off of his phone. Did he take a picture of where he put it? Did he tell you where it went?
He didn't tell me.
So all that the building inspector did was send this approval that he signed and email or text it to you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
sure.
But you know that it was approved.
Right.
Okay. Did you go back and do anything else after the approval?
Yes, we called Mrs. Wilson again, telling her that, you know, the approval, that he did give the final approval, we need to get paid. She declined again, got all angry and, you know, yelled and screamed, and then we just said, oh, we'll have to get a lawyer, I guess.
Okay, and did she complain about the fact that there were nails left on the property?
That thing,
Did she ever complain that
Yes.
there were nails on the property?
yes, and that's.
What was her complaint?
That we didn't clean up good enough and that, you know, that was her complaint, and this, everything, she complained about everything afterwards.
Okay.
She said,
After the work was done, then the complaint started.
that's right,
So did you take care of the nails that were left behind?
oh yeah, we went and ran the magnet 2 or 3 different times.
You ran a magnet, is what you're saying?
Yeah, we always run a magnet, but yeah, we, there missed a few up in the landscaping, so we went back and got up in there and got real good and tore out
Okay.
the back floor and everything, trying to make,
Now, I heard Mrs. Wilson say that you had people from prison working there and 16-year-old kids working there. Could you tell the judge who was doing the work?
there was nobody from prison. There was 6 of them, and none of them were 16. Yeah, I can't legally hire a 16-year-old person. They have to be 17 legally to work for me. So I did have one 17-year-old, but then there was the crew leader. He was 41 at the time,
And how much experience did the crew leader have?
over 20 years.
Okay, the crew leader's been doing roofing work for over 20 years.
Yes.
Okay.
That he was
there any-
17.
Was there anybody else there besides the crew leader that had experience?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What experience, if you know?
The second guy, he would have had over 10 years of experience.
Okay, so you had an experienced group there along with one 17-year-old man.
Yeah, to
And
just labor work. Right.
now, were you there supervising also?
I came and go. I was there 3 times out of the week they were there. One of them was a meeting with Mrs. Wilson about the decking, and then I was out back when they tore that off. I was out front again on a different time. Yes, I stopped in
Now, when
there.
you use the word you tore that off, you mean this shack that was there?
Well, when we were working on the back side of the house,
Oh, okay.
tearing that roof off and tearing the shack off too.
Okay, okay. Now, did you ever tell her that you would do anything in addition to what the contract provided for after she started complaining?
No,
Yes, we tore out the deck of the back shed that was not in agreement with that. And you told me that you were gonna tear out the wood floor deck. All you wanted us to do was take down the roof, the walls, and dispose of that.
Okay. All right, I don't have anything else on this witness, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Wilson, do you have any questions for him?
I'd like to know when that 2-week gap came in that he kept calling and calling. For one thing, his dyslexia kicked in. He was calling the
You
wrong
know, ma'am,
number.
you can't tell me, just ask the question of him, okay? It's just your chance to
He
ask
had-
questions of him.
Why was you calling the wrong number and then saying, did you change your phone number? When I
I
did.
asked you if you changed your phone number because you never answered the phone. When I
No.
had to physically go there 2 weeks later.
You showed me the number you had wrote down. It wasn't even mine. You've switched.
That's not a question, Judge.
Yes, it is a question.
you gotta-
He's sitting there saying that I didn't answer the
Yes.
phone for 2 weeks. He
Just
never
ask it,
came around.
ma'am, it's the only time to ask questions. So,
Well, I don't know how to put them into questions when somebody's sitting there
Ma'am,
telling
I can't
stories.
run your case for you. You've got to ask questions. All I got to do, my job is to make sure the trial runs fairly, and I got to follow the court rules. So you got to ask questions of him.
Why did you say that I wouldn't agree to any extra work when you never once came to my door? None of your workers came to my door. So how could I agree to anything?
That's not a question, Judge. It's
Oh,
a-
okay. I guess the question was,
Yes, it
just
is.
ask the first part of your question. Ask the question again, just that first part.
Why did you say that I wouldn't agree to anything extra when you never even came over or knocked on my door?
Cause I did come over.
No, you didn't. You come over one time and
It's
I,
not a
Ma'am, it's
question,
gotta be,
Judge.
yeah, ma'am, it's gotta be a question. I can't, I gotta
okay,
follow the rules.
how did the shellac-o knives get in my yard? And how did boxes of staples get in my yard? And how did nails get all in my yard?
Okay,
They're
one
my
question at a time. One question at a time. So go ahead and ask the first question.
How did the shellac-o knives get in my yard that you hurried up and grabbed and put in your pocket?
Judge, I'm gonna object to the relevance of that. The question is, in this case, did she breach the contract? Leaving a shellac.
They breached the contract by not doing the work.
It's an exact.
Ma'am, how is that question relevant to your contract?
What they quoted to me is not what he did. When you tell someone that you're going to do reputable work, you do it.
Okay, so that's the question's got to be in line with that. Go ahead and ask a question.
I don't think it matters, sir. Every time I ask them, they're going to tell a lie anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I guess I've got a couple questions. Mr. Stroop, I guess my first, just to make sure, are you licensed with the state of Michigan then? Do you have a license?
Yes,
Construction? I'm sorry, what?
yes, we are. Yeah, it's right on the contract.
The company is? Okay. It's in
Yeah.
good standing that you're aware of?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
The contract itself is the total contract price. I can't, it looks like there's a circle. It says 12. I can't understand if it says just 12,000. Is that the
Yeah.
contract price?
Yeah, it's just 12,000. I gave her a
And
little bit,
Was
little bit
there
of a deal,
okay, was there
but it was
some kind of down
11,550.
payment? I'm sorry, what?
No, there's zero down. The total roof was 11,550 and it was 800 to tear down the shed. Or the back, building. But we agreed upon 12,000 even. That's why I wrote that and then circled it.
Okay. And then there's no down payment, it looks like. I just want to make sure I'm reading it right. Okay.
No, she hasn't paid anything.
Oh, you haven't received anything for the work done? Okay, okay. That was gonna be my next question. I wasn't sure how much was paid or, okay. When you pulled a permit, building permit for it, it looks like. Is that true?
Yeah, we pulled the building permit, yeah.
And then on the, Mr. Dorr had questioned about the approval. That was page 5 of 16. It says approved 301 North Genesee. Was there it's got the address, so I'm just curious, was there a permit number too or not?
That's page 4.
Up at the top right, I think there's.
Oh, there it is, that PB 222912.
Yeah,
Okay, and they just didn't refer to it when they gave you the approval, is that what happened?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, and it does say, it says final roof, was that written by the, code enforcement officer then too?
Yeah, building inspector.
Yeah, I'm sorry, building inspector, yeah, okay, okay. Did you ever have, I guess, were there any complaints from the building inspector with regard to the work that was done on this job?
Yeah, he wanted us to go back and fix a few things, around the boot, and I tried to go back there, and Mrs. Wilson told us that she was gonna call the cops.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I told my guys that she was gonna call the cops if
You
they don't get
are
off the property.
And
Why?
what were those items? Do you remember what they wanted you to go back and do?
Yep, that collar around that one chimney pipe that
Okay.
is in, let me refer back to it.
Was it missing or something, or was it old?
Yeah, it was missing, I think it, yeah, it's right here on, 16 to 16. There's a pipe there that's supposed to have a collar around it.
Okay.
Or he said you could seal it up,
Okay,
so. And then we were gonna. He kept complaining about ridge vent, so I just told him that we would go back and just re-ridge vent the whole thing, even though it had ridge vents on it, but she complained that it wasn't cut out enough. So I told him that we'd just go back and do that, but she wouldn't let us on the property, sent the guys there. Told them if they don't want the property, we'll call the cops.
okay. I'm sorry, that was a ridge vent for the entire structure on the roof line? Is that what it was?
Right. Yeah,
Both, I guess, the new and old sections, like it looks to me like there's three sections, what Mr. Dorr was saying.
Yeah. yeah. So it would have been all of it, right?
Okay, and I'm sorry, so was that accomplished or not? It just never got,
We couldn't get there. She told us she's gonna call the cops if we come on the property, so.
okay.
But there is a ridge vent there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
a
I
ridge vent. And it is cut out. It's just that she complained that it was not cut out enough, so we was just gonna try it. We're just, me and the building inspector are trying to make her happy, so we can just resolve this, but. It didn't matter what we did. She was not gonna be happy, and here we are, 3 years later.
But the ridge vent that you installed works
Yeah, oh yeah.
and doesn't leak.
No, it doesn't leak.
Okay, so I guess I'm just a little confused with that then. With the ridge vent, building inspector told you or asked you to come back on and I guess install one or fix it?
No, yeah. You're supposed to cut anywhere from 1.5 to 2 inches, and we did like 1.5 inches. So she was complaining that it wasn't the full 2 inches on either side, that it was cut out.
I don't
So
even
it
know
was
about those kind of things.
Yeah,
How could I
ma'am,
be
please,
complaining?
hold on. I gotta be able to hear what he says. So,
She had a guy come over telling her all this.
I don't even
Yeah.
climb on the roof.
so, sir, I guess you got the approval. I mean, obviously the approval was done, but was the approval done after the ridge vent was looked at again or not? I'm confused. Was the ridge vent completed and then the inspector wanted you to come back and do this other work to it?
Yeah, and then she wouldn't let us on the property, and then I had
Yeah. Okay, I understand what you're telling me. So,
Can I ask the question?
yeah,
Doug?
sure. Yeah, Mr. Dorr, go ahead. Yeah.
I want to make sure I understand. You completed the job had the roof vent installed.
correct.
You then called for a final inspection and the building inspector looked at it. True?
Correct.
Okay. Then she complained to the building inspector. The building inspector asked you to go back and do something with the
Attempt of making her happy.
with the expanding the
No.
ridge vent beyond what was already there, although what was already there met code.
Correct.
Okay. So when you tried to do that, she wouldn't let you do it.
Correct.
And you told that to the building inspector.
Correct.
And after you told that to the building inspector, he then issued the final approval.
Correct.
Okay. Do you see the sequence, Judge?
Yeah, I got it. That makes sense. Yeah, that's
Sorry about
where,
that.
yeah, no, that's okay. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. And so, Mr. I don't want to take over your case. I just want to make sure I understand the amount that you're asking for then is the 12,000. Is that right for the roof?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure I got that part down. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Anything else, Mr. Dorr, from this witness?
Not this witness, Judge.
Okay, all right. Yeah, if you want to call your next witness.
Okay. We would call Harry Powell.
Harry.
He's the gentleman seated to the left of Matt.
Okay, so why don't you raise your right hand there for me? Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes,
Okay, and if you could do the same thing for me, just state and spell your last name for me. State your, it's Harry
Harry E. Powell.
Powell, P-O-W-E-L-L.
P-O-W-E-L-L. P-O-W-E-L-L.
P-O-W-E-L-L. Okay,
Sir.
all right. Mr. Dorr, you can go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Powell, do you have a residential builder's license with the state of Michigan?
I do.
And do you have the building, the license number?
Yes, it's 2101258888.
And how long have you had that building license?
40 years.
Okay, so during the last 40 years, have you had an opportunity to install roofing on residential homes?
Thousands of them.
Thousands?
Thousands.
And would you say that at this point, you're qualified to take a look at a roof and figure out and inspect whether it's done in a workmanlike manner?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Well, in the state of Michigan, everything needs to be done to a journeyman standard of work.
Okay, and in this case, how can you determine whether a roof is done with a journeyman standard of roof or a workmanlike manner?
Well, the first thing when somebody asks me about their roof or any questions about a roof, the first thing I want to know is it leaking?
Okay,
Which Miss Wilson told me it's not leaking
okay,
when I first called her on the phone,
I
Then-
told you what?
that it was not leaking.
No, at that time, it's not legal. At
So
the
the
time,
answer-
no. Pardon?
That's what I
Miss
said.
Wilson.
The roof is not leaking.
Right. That's what I said. No, it is not leaking at the time, at the present.
Okay.
Let's let them, unless you didn't hear something, but let's let them continue. Mr. Dorr?
okay. Now, Mr. Powell, you had an opportunity to go take a look at the roof and inspect it, is that correct?
Right after several attempts.
Okay, and was that at the June 6th occasion when you and Mr. Stroop went there and met Mrs. Wilson and she gave you the Cardinal roofing repair estimate?
Yes,
Okay, and don't tell me what the opinion is, but do you have an opinion of whether the job was done in a workmanlike manner?
yes, it was.
Okay. Judge, I would move to qualify Mr. Powell as an expert witness pursuant to Michigan Rule of Evidence 702.
Okay. Ms. Wilson, and again, this gets technical, but is there any objection to me considering qualifying him as an expert in roofing?
I know he did modular homes for years, but I don't know about roofing.
Okay. Given the testimony at this point, his years of experience is building, oh, I'm sorry, I guess, is your building license in good standing with the state of
Yes,
Michigan?
it is.
Okay. Do you find this witness is qualified as an expert in construction and in building matters, including in particular this matter of roofing?
Now, Mr. Powell, could you indicate to the court what you observed when you went there and inspected the home?
Myself and Bill, we both went up on the roof. We walked the roof. We didn't find any bad spots. We didn't find any soggy spots. The vent that Matt had talked about earlier all looked to be in good shape. You can see in some of our pictures where the roof, the vent ridge actually follows the ridge of the vent, even though the house has got variations in it. I mean, it still goes right up there and it works good. It looks good.
Now, did you take a look at the pictures that were provided by Mrs. Wilson in the Cardinal roofing estimate?
Yes, I did.
Please indicate what they depict.
Well, they depict different areas of the roof that's got what we call dry rot. When you walk around the house, I think the only section of the house that actually has vented soffit material is the section that you worked on. The rest of the house, Your Honor, doesn't even have vented material in the soffits of the house that would make a vent ridge work properly anyway. So Wanda's friends showed up there and told me all about what I needed to do and that Matt needed to close off the vent that was in the end of the house. And he wanted to show me on the internet how it says that when you put on vent ridge, you should close off the vent on the end of the house. And that's true. Just as long as the house has vented soffit material at the bottom, so it can draw the air up through the vent ridge. If Matt's guys would have closed off the vent that's on the end of the house, the roof would have got no ventilation at all. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that house to bring the roof up to today's standards. I think the settled out spot, there's a spot in the back of the roof when you're up on top and you look down where the shingles literally flatten right out before they go off the roof. I think that's because in the last 2 or 3 years, the tails on the rafters coming down that these guys described needing repairs in Cardinal's thing and in Matt's thing. I think the tails on the rafters where they come down are rotting off. And they're allowing that roof to settle down more and more and more. And it's depicted even in the pictures from Cardinal Roofing and stuff. There wasn't really any reason for me to go in the attic of that house. I can see in the pictures that they provided. And I had a hard time with this when I got the thing, because when I talked to Dan, he's the owner of Cardinal Roofing. He couldn't figure out whose house I was talking about when I kept saying Wanda Wilson, because he never wrote Wanda Wilson an estimate. They wrote it to somebody else named Kevin Moore.
He's the one that called them up and asked them if they could come over and take a look at it and help me out.
Who's he?
He's my daughter's fiance.
So anyways, I finally did get to the bottom of it by giving them the address, and they bring it up in their computer and they said, oh yeah, we wrote the estimate. But we didn't write it for Wanda Wilson, we wrote it for a guy named Kevin Moore. So I'm guessing that's probably who took Cardinal Roofing's guys into the attic and pointed out what they wanted in the estimate.
They knew it was a court case. We explained that to him. And he still said, yes, I will do it and find all the flaws and everything that they did wrong. Court case or not.
Judge,
It
I'd like
wasn't
to
a free
finish, I'd like to
estimate.
finish asking Mr. Powell questions. If I
Good.
could.
Go ahead.
Mr. Powell, you took a look at the each thing, each item noted by Cardinal Roofing,
Yes,
and could you?
no, I did not. I didn't go into the roof. I took a look at all the pictures.
I know, you
Okay.
looked at their estimate.
Right.
And could you determine whether there was anything that ARS did that Cardinal Roofing wanted to redo?
No,
Okay, so,
I could see a lot of additional stuff they were gonna do. And I could see in their estimate that their $9,000 estimate was just to get the shingles off the roof and then start building on it.
right, the reason why I asked that is they don't have a problem with the work that our ARS did. Their problem is that the roof needed the work that Matt indicated was necessary and Wanda didn't want to do. But they said if you want us to do it right, they want all these other things done.
No,
Which when I actually talked to the guy who was in charge of writing the estimate, he said, one of the things that he noticed right off the bat, there was all kinds of repairs that had already been done with replacing studs, wall studs, all, so it was kind of like a continuation of the work that Wanda had already had started.
Oh, I see.
I'm not sure what your numbers on your pictures are, because the ones we have, but you can see all through the pictures, the new studs and stuff that have been put in over the years. The end wall where they actually had to change out the studs, even in the end wall where the vents at. So a lot of the work that Cardinal was gonna perform was moving on with what had already been done. And I don't think that Matt had anything to do with any of that other stud replacement.
I don't have any other questions, Judge.
Ms. Wilson, do you have any questions for him?
if they had to put the boards in the roof that they quoted, $12,000 would buy a lot of boards for them to put in a little small strip of a board that was, it's in the picture, it's probably 4 inches they used for their board. That's not fixing somebody's roof. I want to know why they didn't use the boards that they quoted me for. Don't
Judge,
tell
that's a
somebody
question, that's
that,
a question for, she already had her
Not
opportunity to cross-examine Matt Stroop. Mr. Powell is there to testify what he observed.
So
he
this
didn't
is
even go
just-
in the roof. He didn't go in the attic. He denied it. He said, I'm not going in your attic, because he would have seen it all.
Ma'am, just, you'll get a chance to testify too. Just, these are questions just for Mr. Powell. Just questions for him.
Mine? Sir?
I'm
My
sorry?
question? I wanted to know why he quoted $12,000 saying that they'd put boards up there, but didn't put a one. That's a
Okay,
question.
but I guess, Mr. Powell, if that question's for you, do you have
No,
any
it's
now?
for Matt, the one
Well,
that
we're
said I
past-
wouldn't let him in the
Yeah,
yard.
I gotta follow the, unfortunately, I gotta follow the rules. We're past Mr. Stroop. We're on Mr. Powell now. Questions are just for Mr. Powell.
I can answer that, Your Honor. The very first time I talked to Wanda Wilson on the phone, she told me the reason she's not paying Matt Stroop is because he put a metal roof on her street, right down the road, and charged them less money than he charged her.
No, that's not what I said. Man, men are not hearing correctly. I said he did my cousin's also next door. And he did a complete metal roof over there for 6,000.
Ma'am, we're talking about two different things, so we gotta stick to your roof. That's
That's
just
what
where
he's
we're at.
bringing up though, is the neighbor.
Well, it's because you asked the question, so,
Yeah, about my boards.
okay. So, any other questions for Mr. Powell?
And the board she's talking about, Judge, I believe that Matt testified that he put 8 sheets of OSB on that house. Not 2 or 3 slivers.
You look at the pictures and find eight sheets.
You
They
can't
used
see them
one
because they're
sheet,
under your
cut it up.
shingles, Wanda. The 8
What?
sheets are under the 8 sheets are under your
So they're in the other-
underlayment, they're under
That's-
your shingles, they're
And
under
they're in,
everything.
listen, I have a walk-in attic that you can walk in. It used to be a bedroom. And you can walk in and look all the way down from one end to the other and see
Judge,
every
she's
board.
testifying again. That's not question.
Yeah, ma'am, you'll get a chance to tell me your side. It's just questions.
Well,
for
then
him.
let me talk, sir,
Ma'am, we'll give you a chance. Just questions for
because
him.
for them to just sit and lie is. And I
She
got
did, Your
an
Honor.
email.
when me and Bill were in the yard, she told me that I was a liar, my family's a liar. I mean, just,
Yep, and you told me I was one.
you are, because you don't answer.
All right, all right, guys,
Told me,
let's just.
what's that,
let's
your
just-
question?
Yeah,
Because
gonna-
you,
I'm giving
right
everybody a
in your
little leeway.
papers, you lied.
Ms. Wilson, let's just I'm gonna take over now, okay? Mr. Powell, I do have a couple questions. You said you reviewed the repair estimate from Cardinal Roofing? And
yes,
all the pictures shown from, I guess, and they're not really numbered here. Showing from underneath within the attic area there. They're all showing what looks like just old original boards that were on the roof line. Do you know if the pictures that are shown here are part of the work that ARS did at all?
well, I have to assume that some of it is, Your Honor, because I can see the new nails sticking through the roof
Okay,
on several of the pictures in the area that he claimed he put new sheeting and stuff on. You
okay,
can see the new nails that are sticking right through the roof. You can
Okay,
see
yep, I
some
see.
nails.
yep,
In several of the pictures, you can see the new nails that are sticking through quite far. They're not rusty, there's no indication that they were there for very long.
okay,
But when you do look at the pictures, I mean, you see the insulation that's stuffed right at the bottom of the trusses. None of that's right. But that's got nothing to do with putting new shingles on a roof.
yeah.
Really? You
Okay.
can say
Well,
it.
in just because she brought it up, the pictures that depict, the nails sticking through the underlayment, I'm gonna call it underlayment, I guess. Is that uncommon?
No, not when you have that style of a roof, where you have all the gaps in the boards and stuff. You try to line it up. Like say you've got a gap in a board, you would try to lay your sheet over that
Yeah,
and nail it back down. But you don't, you take the shingles and stuff off the roof. And when they took all the layers off the roof, because that's not even the style of underlayment that they use.
yeah,
And I mean, it's just not, it's just not. And as long as nobody takes the back off on that house and fixes those rafters, they're gonna continue to have a sagging problem. I mean, it's gonna be there. And them old houses, you just cannot get all that out of there. I got a house that's 25, 30 years old. I got a long draft on the back of one of my rooms on my own house that I built. And I can see some of them problems starting to occur in my own house.
So will you replace them with some boards or leave it?
Judge, she's done cross-examining Mr.
yeah,
Paul.
ma'am, let
It
me
was a
finish.
question,
Hold on,
plain
ma'am.
question.
You gotta follow. It's my turn. Yeah, let me just ask questions now. Let's see. So I guess, Mr. Powell, just to just summarize it, you went up under the roof and the roof, as you inspected it, appears to be in a journeyman standard of work. Is that true?
Except for the area where it's settling down, where it needs those rafters replaced.
Okay, and in that particular part where you say that exception is, did that look like any work that was new work from like ARS or any?
No, you could actually see where the roof came down and the shingles were actually flattened out for about 2 inches right at the bottom. And I'm gonna lay that on, that rafter rotting off. There's several of them in there where that insulation is tucked in so tight that they're not getting no draft for it. And it's not gonna stop until she fixes it.
Yeah, okay,
So I guess what I'm saying, Your Honor, is there's no way to lay the shingles like that without cracking them I mean, they've just settled down over the last 2 or 3 years and
that's
that's the
what
way
you
it
did.
is.
Okay,
I did see the boot that Matt talked about that needs repaired.
Yep.
Where the collar's gone off that, you can see that, at one time or another, right in the picture, you can see the collar was on there because the pipe's a totally different color. We agreed me and Bill Stroop both agreed when we were there that needs fixed.
okay. And was that part of the new work, I guess ARS work?
That's what Matt said that he was gonna go back and do, but she wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Mr. Dorr, anything else? Any?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. You may call your next witness.
A plaintiff for us.
Okay. Miss Wilson, this is your chance to call your witnesses, including yourself. If you got other witnesses, you can call them as well. Do you have
I
other
don't have
witnesses?
witnesses.
Okay, you want to testify?
Yeah,
Okay. Why don't you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And you can put your hand down. You can go ahead and I'll let you kind of narrate through it. And Mr. Dorr, if there's obviously some objections, just raise them when she goes along there. All right, Miss
Okay.
Wilson, you can go ahead.
So all this has to be questions to them?
Nope, this is your chance to tell me your side. This is all you know.
Well, starting out, Matt started out, he's lying from the get-go. He's never come over here and I said, get out of here, I'd call the cops. I would want my things fixed, not run them off. Why do you think Cardinal came out? Because they didn't put any boards. They said they'd put boards and $80 for every sheet thereafter. So that's where I thought $12,000 come in, because that would be some sheets of board. But they didn't. They cut little sheets of, it looks like siding, perhaps. I watched them. They hurried up and was trying to cover up those boards as fast as they could because they didn't want to put boards down. And in those pictures, you can see one new board and it's cut up. It's not 8 sheets of anything. And Harry never made several attempts to call me. I have an answering machine. I have a telephone. And if he left any messages, it would be on there. And when I asked him about it, he said, I don't have to leave messages on your machine. Well, if you don't leave a message, how are you going to come over here? I won't know it. So then he said, well, one time I come over and you didn't answer the door. Well, that's not true either, because I have a dog that sits right there and he won't let nothing come through that gate that he won't bark at and let us know that there's someone entering. He said, I knocked one time and I left. That's not how you do business. Huh? The other elderly gentleman never spoke a word, never said a word. He just walked around. And the lawyer, he put down in the paperwork that I wouldn't let Harry on my property. I ordered him off. And
Judge,
Harry's,
I'm gonna object. That's irrelevant. You resolved
ain't
that with the
irrelevant.
motion some
Not
time
when I'm
ago.
trying to
It has
get my
nothing to
point
do with-
across. And Harry stood right there and said, that's a lie, that I didn't order him off my property.
We're kind of past that. I already made decisions on that, so we got that squared away. Go ahead and continue. Ms. Wilson, you can continue.
Yeah. I think I got my point across. I've sent you pictures. I've sent you Cardinal's reply. I've sent you all kinds of things that show there's no boards in the roof.
Do you have anybody from Cardinals here today to testify?
No, I have the form I sent you.
And I've got that documentations which been stipulated to do for admission. So we've got the estimate, Cardinal's estimate.
It's not that, it's not it's not the estimate. It's that they didn't do the work that they told me they would do. They did a rush job and left. That's because they didn't want to fix, they didn't want to put boards on there. And they were kids.
Oh, terrible.
Okay, so ma'am, were you present when, I guess? When,
Pardon?
were you present when the building inspector came out and,
Yes, I
Inspected
was.
the
I'm the
work?
one that called him.
okay? It looks like he gave a final roof approval on August 31st, 2022, it looks like. Were you present for that?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Well, help me out with that. It looks like at that point, everything was deemed,
He was
Acceptable.
rude, snotty, and he told me that I should have climbed up on the roof and found the soft spots myself before my roof got that way. And I'm 70 years old.
Okay.
I can't climb on the roof. I told him I can't climb on the roof. I have 3 heart stents and lupus. He didn't. He says, well, I can have them come back and do that ridge vent. I said, that ridge vent ain't bothering me. It's the boards they didn't use so that it'll cave in or leak.
oh, how long, when was the work actually completed? Do you remember? Looks like the date was, the contract
May.
was signed was May 24th, 2022. So when was it completed? Like a few days after that or what?
Oh yeah, they came and went for a week or so.
We were there every day for a week. You know. We were there every day for a week roofing the house. There was no rush job. I went over there and talked to her, everything. So I'd say it would probably be about 17 days after that, or it was complete.
Ms. Wilson, does that sound about right?
With the
I don't know.
removal.
They came and went whenever they felt like it.
Okay. And it looks like the final inspection was August 31st, 2022. What? Can you tell me why that's such a long period of time from May to August? Ms. Wilson,
What,
to have that final inspection? Why?
what final inspection?
The one dated
From-
August 31st, 2022, the approval.
From
That was the
building
date that
inspector?
it was approved and the work started May 24th. I'm gonna say May 24th when the contract was signed.
And who are you talking about did the final approval?
Building inspector, the building inspector.
Because I had to call him 4 times to get him to come over. And then when
Oh.
I did, he had an attitude to have.
I see.
I went up there and asked them if they got a permit and they said, yes, they did. Cost them $90. And I said, well, my paper says they charged me 200. And the
Okay.
building inspector said, well, how do you think they make their money? And I said, how am I supposed to make mine on $1,000 a month Social Security? He was rude, snotty to me.
I guess, Mr. Dorr, if you don't mind me asking, just for Mr. Stroop real quick, I know it's out of turn, but we might as well, we're playing this back and forth a little bit. But do you mind, is that all right with you? I just got a
Yeah,
question
go
for
ahead.
Mr. Stroop. Mr. Stroop,
Yeah.
that delay for the final approval on the building inspector, is that reasonable for that time period from May to August?
Do they normally take that long? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
to come back out and give the final
They can.
approval?
They can. It varies in different counties because they're different building inspectors, but yeah, they can.
How busy they are.
Depending on how busy they are and stuff too.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what?
So the final usually gets done at their leisure.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. So,
But when you,
I guess
when you
Mr.
first,
Mr.
Ron,
Powell,
I'd like to tell you something also that everybody seems to be missing. When that roof's all tore off, you call the building inspector and he comes by and looks at it before you get to put the shingles back on. You get the ice and water shield all around the bottom. That's when he does his first inspection.
Yeah.
Then he tells you, go ahead and cover it up. And then just about everywhere I go, that building inspector will tell you that he's gonna come back at his leisure and do the final one, when he's in your area, when he has time. But he gives you the approval to go on at that point.
Okay.
So at that point, Matt's gotta have, or Stroop's Roofing, whatever the hell it is, it's gotta have the ice and water shield on. It's gotta have the underlayment on, which is a synthetic material that I see these guys
Yep.
using. So
Yep.
that's all gotta be on there before he gets to put the shingles back on. And then,
We never-
then usually the building inspectors do it at their leisure, just like they say.
Okay. And Mr. Powell, just as long as you're talking about that too, the building inspector would not just not come out during that time period. Is that true?
No.
They're gonna, Mr. Stroop, did the building inspector come out at some point before the shingles actually got put
No.
out?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Miss
He did
Wilson?
not.
Miss Wilson, what, and you're saying he did not? What?
No,
how-
he did not. I called him 4 times just to get him out here.
Would
Why
never
are
And
you
give
talking
you
about the
that.
final?
He would
What?
never give you that final.
Yeah, is that, you're talking about getting the final approval? Miss Wilson? is
Any
that what you-
approval.
Any approval? Okay.
Yes, he never came here.
Okay. All right, I guess I don't have any other questions. Mr. Dorr, do you have any questions for Miss Wilson? I guess that's where we left off.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Miss Wilson, the final, anything else you want to tell me? I don't want to make you feel like I cut you off. Anything else?
It doesn't matter anyway. On my contract, it says they protect your bushes, your flowers. They smashed everything. They drug all my chips for my swing around the house. I know that stuff doesn't have to do with on top of the house, but you don't take the shingles and shove them off on people's plants and bushes in their front yard and then drag it to the backyard.
Did you ever complain about that?
I did to the building inspector.
Why
The
not,
boy
why
I
not
told
to
you-
why
Huh?
didn't you go to ARS and tell them?
Excuse me, sir?
Why didn't you go to ARS and tell them?
I did tell ARS. I told him the whole yard was front and back was full of nails. My daughter was picking up handfuls of nails and bringing them in. And my grandson watched him out the window, and he stood there with a big magnet and rocked it back and forth with his foot. Never left the front of the house, not once.
Okay.
They wouldn't be there all over. I have a dog. I didn't want him to get his feet
Sure.
stuck with all them nails.
Sure.
Just lying.
All right. Mr. Dorr, I guess you get first shot. Do you have any final arguments for me then?
I think very briefly, Judge, there was a contract. The contract was negotiated both for price and scope of work. ARS testified that they did all the things that the contract provided for. The building inspector, according to the testimony of the plaintiff, bill inspector did the approval of the underlayment and the decking before the shingles went on, and then the building
No.
inspector did the
He
final
never come
approval.
out.
Mr. Powell testified that it was done in a journeyman-like standard. And the defendant herself admits that in the last 3 years, it hasn't leaked. So clearly, the contract,
It hasn't leaked, but it's wavy. Cause they wouldn't use of any boards.
Judge, I
Just-
didn't interrupt her when she was
Yeah.
talking.
I know, I'm too.
It's a wonder.
Go ahead, Ms. Wilson, you gotta hold yourself too. I give you a chance. Mr.
So
Dorr.
anyway, I'm satisfied that the plaintiff did the work in a workmanlike manner and complied with the duties set forth in the contract. And it's clear that from the testimony that's undisputed, that Miss Wilson hasn't paid a dime in 3 years. So she's had the use of the roof for 3 years and hasn't paid a single dime, and which is the satisfies the term of the contract of the complaint that there's a breach. So there was contract compliance by the plaintiff, breach by the defendant, and the damage is $12,000. So we'd respectfully request a judgment in favor of plaintiff for $12,000.
All right, and Ms. Wilson, your
Mm.
final argument. will be.
Mr. Dorr is the third lawyer that Stroop called. The other two looked at my letter.
I'm gonna object, that's irrelevant. How many attorneys
Yeah,
are
it
involved
doesn't.
is irrelevant.
Ma'am,
Because
it-
I'm showing you that they wouldn't take the case. Because
Ma'am,
it
it
was
doesn't,
shitty.
hold on, it's not relevant to anything, okay? They've got an attorney that has nothing to do with the case, okay? So sum up why I shouldn't award them what they're asking for, the 12,000. Why shouldn't I do that?
Me,
Yeah, yep,
I've explained it and explained it to you.
okay. All right,
I don't understand why you don't understand it. You don't get it. You didn't look at anything yourself, so. And they're
Okay.
gonna lie.
okay. Ma'am, I've looked at all the documents you submitted. Don't do that to me. I've listened to you. I've got all the documents out. I'm gonna take a brief recess. I'll make a decision. Mr. Dorr, you did a final say. Is there anything else?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, I'll take a brief recess, review my notes and review the documents that were stipulated to from both sides. I'll come right back on.
There's all lying. Every one of them. See, they're gonna.
Okay, we can go back on the record and look at the decision. Heard,
I got it.
there we go. Heard testimony from several witnesses. They had a chance to review all the documents that were admitted. That being the ARS construction contract between the parties, as well as numerous photos presented by plaintiff, and as well as a complete repair estimate from Cardinal Roofing, also including numerous photos of the roof itself. Did you find, based upon all the evidence, that there was this contract in place between the parties? This involved property at 301 North Genesee in Genesee Street in Montrose, Michigan. Do you find that that contract was entered into by both parties, ARS Construction as well as Wanda Wilson? The work to be performed was checked as a tear-off re-roof of the roof on this property. do find that there were several boxes were checked on what should be done to the work. Find that given the testimony from both sides, the work was completed. There was also a permit pulled for the work to be done. That work that was done by the building inspector had a building permit number PB 222912. You find that that was paid for by the plaintiff that was doing the work. And a description on that, it says roof replace shingles, and which comports the testimony taken. I also have included within the documents received, submitted a final approval by the building inspector. That was dated August 31st, 2022, signed by the building inspector. It says final roof at 301 North Genesee. Do find, based upon the whole testimony, that the work was done on this roof in a journeyman standard work condition for this required on this roof. Find that that was done in satisfaction not only of the building inspector, but from testimony, I find that that work was completed in a workmanlike standard as well as journeyman standard of work. Do find that the roof itself is problematic, but the plaintiff took this work on. It has 3 sections on this roof that were described, 2 newer sections on the outer edges and an older section in the middle, which was problematic and still is, quite frankly, for the residence itself. Do find that the work complained of by the defendant is not the fault of ARS. In fact, her testimony was that there are no leaks in the last 3 years, but it's wavy. That waviness on that roof was, in my judgment, based upon all the testimony, is based upon the condition of the house structure itself. It does need to have some work done, looks like, to the trusses underneath and the underlying condition of the home itself, causing this wavy. I do find, based on testimony of Mr. Powell, who again was qualified as an expert in construction work and roofing in particular, do find his explanation for the waviness of the roof does comport with the condition of the house itself, and that's not a fault of ARS, not with the work that they did. And do find that the only thing that was not completed that needed to be completed was a collar around the chimney pipe. But I do find, based upon the complete testimony of all sides, that for whatever reason, Ms. Wilson was upset with ARS enough that she was not allowing them to come in and complete that work. We find testimony by Mr. Stroop was credible. I do find testimony by Ms. Wilson was credible, but in parts, I don't think she quite understands the factual circumstance of her roof. Ms. Wilson did testify that she watched plaintiff, that being ARS, didn't place what she described as new boards. I do find that all the work was completed, though, based upon the totality of the testimony, and in particular, building inspectors' approval, and the testimony that there was an inspection in between before the shingles were in place. I do find that testimony credible as well. I don't see any evidence showing that the building inspector was was not doing his job in this inspection either. Therefore, judgment for, oh, I do find that there was no way to ARS's credit at this point. They haven't really pressed being paid. The contractor was for $12,000. There's been no payments on this job. I do find it's time that $12,000 needs to be paid to ARS through the defendant, Miss Wilson, Wanda Wilson. Judgment per plaintiff in the amount of $12,000 plus court costs. Mr. Dorr, do you know what your court costs are right offhand?
I don't, Judge. I'll have to go back and tabulate it all.
Okay.
I'll court costs, and then I gotta tabulate interest, and then I'll tabulate whatever the statutory attorney fee is.
I was gonna ask if you'll do that for me. I'll take a look at it and make sure that those
And
fees are reasonable and it comports to what's been submitted as court costs as well.
Okay,
But if you'll do that for me, send in a proposed judgment, I'll take a look at it, and if it looks.
now I'll do it by the 7-day rule.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll do it by 7-day order.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, and I apologize for both sides for being as late in the day as it is with this matter. Sorry about that. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, guys, good luck to everybody. Yeah, and is that it, Mr. Dorr, I guess? Is that?
That's
that
it.
covered?
Thank you very much.
All right,
All right.
Miss Wilson, good luck to you too. All right,